Hi everybody, this is going to be a short video on how I make my homemade stain. There is loads of people out there doing their stains and I think each of us have got our own recipe. But I find this really handy because using some of the ready-made on the market stains can be quite expensive, especially if you're doing sort of large projects. And with this particular one, I quite like it because you can build up your colours on it quite easily, and I just use a sponge to put on. It is water-based, so you can actually wash it off your hands, which is quite handy. And I try to do it as like a sort of like walnut stain is the best description. And if it's not quite dark enough, so this has already had a couple of coats, you can just go over and darken it, give it a second coat, and then it'll darken it that little bit more. So here we go. So what you're going to need. So first off, you're going to need to have an empty jam jar. Is the first start. And then I've got some of the Elmer's clear washable glue, so we're going to need some of that. I'm then going to add a little tiny bit of distress ink, the walnut stain distress ink, and some walnut ink crystals, which you can buy on the internet, or some of the really good shops, the art supply shops sell it as well in little packets. You can't smell it, but I can smell it, so that's just some coffee, the cheapest coffee I can get hold of, and I've made it to quite a strong consistency. So it is quite dark to begin with, as you can see there. And then we'll need some water just to water it down just a little bit. So we're going to start off with some of the glue. So I'm hoping to make at least half a jar of the stain. So I'm going to put about that much glue, so about a third of the jar of glue. So we'll just blob that in, like so. As I say, I'm not the only one to do this. There is other people out there, and I am sure that they've got their own recipes. I'm just using what I've got around the house, if I'm honest. And I found this wood dye in my husband's workshop. Unfortunately, my husband passed away a while back, but I've kept all his bits of his workshop, so it's turned out quite handy, bless him. So I'm now going to pour the coffee in. So we've got about a third of the glue. We're going to do about a third of the coffee. I'm going to give that a stir and see how we get on. There we go, sort of like really mix it in. It takes a while. It helps if your coffee is warm, because that just sort of like warms up the glue a little bit and helps it mix. So I don't know whether you can see the consistency, but it's just a little bit runny. I'm then going to add a few drops of the Tim Holtz Distress, the walnut stain. So I'm going to put a few blobs of that in, because that's the sort of colour that we're sort of like heading for. And we give that a stir. And then I'm going to put some of, now these are crystals. You don't really need an awful lot, and this will slowly melt into the mix. Now it's made from the shells of the walnuts, and if you've ever gone onto the continent when they're in the autumn, when they're actually taking down the walnuts from the trees, and then the locals will actually take the walnuts out of the shells. Now you can always tell when the ladies of the village have done that. I'm just going to add a little bit of water because it's a bit thick, because their hands are totally stained with the, trying to get all the bits from, totally stained from the walnut shells, because it's the shells that give the colour, and it takes ages for it to get out of the skin, absolute ages. So that's getting a bit better. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of this medium oak. Now it would have been better, if I'm honest, if it had been more of a walnut stain. That would have been ideal, but it's still quite dark. We'll just put a couple of blobs in there, like so, and give that a stir. And I think it's still a bit on the thick side, but it's coming along lovely. So I'm just going to add a little tiny bit more water. So as you can see, I'm not measuring it precisely, I'm just throwing it all together, which is actually how I cook, if I'm honest. Right, and we're just going to check out the colouring. So just have a little bit on my sponge and we'll have a look at how we're getting on. Now that to me doesn't look too bad. I don't know what you think. Maybe a little bit darker, perhaps. Yeah, I think I'll put a little tiny bit more of the walnut stain in. But not too much, there we go. And give that a good old mix. It takes a while for the walnut stain to mix in with the glue, the water and the coffee. Ooh, lovely. Well, that's much better. That's a nice runny consistency, a sort of single cream consistency, or slightly watered down. That's really nice. Right, I'm quite happy with that. Just going to get the dregs off my spoon, like so. Try and save as much as I can. Put the lid on, and hey presto, we've got some stain. If you find it's not dark enough, you can add a little bit more of coffee, or you can add perhaps a little bit more, perhaps some black soot stain. But as I say, I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. And I hope you have a go and see how you get on with your stain. It lasts for quite a while. It does go a bit thick and gloopy towards the end, but what I do then is I just strain it, normally through a piece of muslin, which I'm going to use then in a piece of work that I'm doing, just in case it does get a bit lumpy and bumpy. But that's basically it. Best of luck, and I hope you have a go and you find it as successful and as economical as I do. So thank you for watching. It's nice to have you here with Craft with Norma. Don't forget to check out my sister channel, Crafted by Norma. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And for those who have, thanks very much. It is appreciated when you do subscribe to my channel. See you a bit later on, and thanks very much. Bye.